Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. I hope you had an amazing week, and I'm so excited to be here with you this morning. I have a special guest whom I will be introducing in a moment. But if we haven't met yet, hello. And if we have, hi, good to see you again. My name is Megan, and I am the leader of this incredible community of elevated and empowered entrepreneurs. And it's my mission to help you to live, move, and feel your best using the tools of yoga so that you can show up each day feeling centered, confident, charismatic, and taking some bold and inspired action towards your mission and your dreams and your goals in your business. And while I can help you with that, I know there's so many other facets to you as a beautiful human being, but also to you as a business owner. And so I am so honored to bring in special guests, including my friend Lisa, who's here today, to share their magic with you so that you can be empowered with the tools that you need to succeed in your business. So I'm so excited to introduce Lisa, but before I do that, let me read her awesome bio. So Lisa Buyer is a PR expert, an international speaker, teaching brands how to blend the superpowers of PR, SEO, and social media with the latest modern day technologies. So she's on a mission to inspire and educate brands and really move you forward in your business. And she's also the founder. She's a coach, a creator, a connector, a collaborator, and she's the founder of the Female Disruptors. Oh, that's interesting, which is a magazine and a movement. So I'm so excited to introduce Lisa. Let me invite her here on screen. And hello, good to see you.
Hi, Megan. How are you? Hi, everybody.
Oh, yay. Thank you so much. I'm doing well. So I'm going to give you a moment to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about how you got interested in PR and helping entrepreneurs while I just make sure that everything's happening here.
Okay, great. Well, I've been in the public relations industry pretty much since I graduated from college, and it was pretty boring when I first started in it. It was traditional PR had been the same and hadn't changed in probably 100 years. So it was like the same old thing, pitching journalists. Journalists were the gatekeeper. You had to talk them into basically doing a story for you. For those that don't know really what PR is, because it's a little bit of a gray area. So my definition of public relations is when you are able to get quoted in a publication, you get a feature story on TV, you get quoted as an expert source, you get to be able to say as seen in Forbes or as seen in Fast Company or as seen in Yoga Journal, whatever your industry is. And it's not advertising, it's not something that you pay to get, it's something that it's called earned media. So back in the day, originally, PR really relied on the gatekeepers, the journalists, to like say, okay, we want to quote you in this story or do this article. But what got super exciting for me was when Google and search engines came out and social media came on the horizon, on the forefront, that you could use social media and SEO as part of the PR strategy. So that's where I became different than most other PR professionals, is I bring in search and social into the PR strategy, and it allows you to kind of bypass the journalists, but it's not like we're excluding them. We still need them as part of our strategy, but we're able to go straight to our audience using things like Facebook Live, using things like you can create your own publication, you can write a book. So there's all these different ways that as a brand, whether you're a small brand, personal brand, large brand, you can leverage the superpowers of what I call SEO, PR, and social media to really reach organically more of your audience without having to dip into the side of paid. So that's kind of, my journey of where I've come, over the past 20 years, actually.
Oh, wow. So you've been doing this work for about 20 years?
I've been an agency owner for 20 years. I'm no longer an agency owner. I said goodbye to all my clients effective July 1st. So now what I'm doing is I'm taking my superpowers instead of one-to-one. I'm teaching digital courses. I also wrote a book that I'm giving as a giveaway called Social PR Secrets.
Oh, I like that.
And yeah, so I'm just going to be teaching brands and digital marketers how to do what I just described on their own, do it yourself, or at least have the knowledge to hire somebody that is going to make sure that they're taking advantage of all of the different opportunities that we have today that we didn't have 10 years ago when it comes to gaining media attention or earned media.
Brilliant. I love that because that's really going to help you be able to serve a larger part of this community. And so I love that you have made that shift and are really intentional about it. So as you guys arrive, let us know how you're doing. Happy Friday to everybody. And if you have any questions for Lisa as we go, specifically about anything that we're speaking to or anything about PR, definitely put those in the comments and we will answer those as we go or at the end if that kind of is in the flow a little bit better. So I love that you are sharing this kind of different approach to PR and helping us spread our message with the world. And what I'm hearing you say is there's definitely a strategy component to that. So the social and the SEO, always important. We know that too. But we all know that underneath it all, there is an important approach that we have internally, right? The way that we are seeing the possibility of things, the mindset that we're taking when we approach these PR, public relations opportunities. Would you say that there is a mindset that's important for us to have as we start to implement these strategies?
Definitely. So public relations is a lot different than advertising, where the mindset of advertising is you have 100% control, you know when it's going to go live, you know exactly what audience it's going to, you can control the creative, and it's a very attractive approach. The problem with advertising is that it's not something that is perceived as credible and as authentic as earned media. Is when you are reading an article in the newspaper or magazine or online, that is considered 8 times more credible. So that's awesome, right?
Yeah.
But the journey and the mindset of public relations needs to be not as immediate gratification as advertising is. So it needs to be that slow and steady, and it needs to be something that's not stop and go. It needs to be that you are you have a plan, that you're going to stick with public relations and do something consistently every month, whether that be pitching 2 to 3 journalists a month, or how you're doing your lives. I mean, this would be considered a consistent form of outreach, that you're going straight to your audience. Yeah, so you've got this. You've got this. It's a great example. Yeah, right. So the PR mindset is very similar to, let's just say the law of attraction also. So, like attracts like, and, you put it out there to the universe, it's going to come back to you in the way that you put it out eventually. But if you don't have any PR mindset happening, if it's not even on the horizon, if you're like, oh, well, if the media really wants to interview me, they'll find me. Well, your competition is maybe out there pitching the media, and maybe they're out there optimizing their social and optimizing to get found in Google by the journalists. And they're the ones that are going to get the interview versus somebody that just thinks it's going to come to them without putting something out there. So the mindset really needs to be very consistent. And really it's PR isn't so much a marketing activity. It's more of a business practice that you're always, it's like yoga, like you're constantly practicing it, and it's never perfect, and every day is different type of thing. But to always have it as part of your agenda, your brand's agenda, that you'll eventually build this momentum, and it becomes easier and easier to attract more and more earned media.
I love that. I love that you're taking the approach of it being not a perfect, but a practice, and also from an approach of service, right? And knowing that the more we put ourselves out there, the more we're likely to be seen by journalists and magazines and people that are looking for you, right? And so it's really that reciprocal action. And so that's so beautiful. And so I think that's important, because I definitely hadn't really looked at it that way. I thought I was like, okay, just try to get yourself out there and see if anybody, pays attention.
Yeah. And it really, it does start with baby steps. So it's called the Kaizen way. So small steps could lead to big change. Where could you possibly get featured on the Today Show if you do a press release the first time? I mean, anything's possible, right? But typically that's not the way it's going to happen. And it's okay to start small. It's okay to start local. It's okay to start industry focused, because it gets you that practice, to do something over and over again, to get you in that mode of if, you did get the attention of top tier media, you don't want it to be your first time. But if it is your first time, that's fine anyway. But
True.
typically, like the statistic says that the media like to interview. They're going to be attracted to you if they've seen that you've been interviewed before. It doesn't matter where, it doesn't matter what the outlet is. It could be, like I said, local industry, it could be your local chamber, but they just like to see that you've done other things, and that kind of makes them more attractive. So that's a stat that the more you do, the more attractive you're going to be to the media.
Oh, that's good to know. And that could be as simple as this sort of interview too, right? Like bringing other guest experts into your community and having those reciprocal interviews. That's a great way to even practice. I love that. And so you're right. Like you may not land on the Today Show tomorrow, but you want to have those little like initial jitters kind of smoothed out at least a little bit before you get into those larger opportunities. And so that might be one of the mistakes that people are making in this process, thinking like, well, if it's not landing, what's the point? Why should I continue to, make these blogs and do these shows and da, 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 da. So that might be a limiting belief or story or mistake that people are making. So are there other ones that you see consistently people making?
Yes, one of the other ones that I see brands making is that they don't think that they have news every month. So they're waiting for the big announcement that might come. Like the big announcement might be once a year. Maybe it's their big event, or maybe it's like you're launching a new offering. But the reality is, there's news that you probably don't realize that might take a little bit of brainstorming with people that aren't so inside your brand to notice. And it could be that you're attaching yourself with some trending news that you can kind of insert yourself to as an expert source. So what I like to do is I like to say, like, look at every month of the year and theme out every month. And, you could tie it into, what, if it makes sense for your brand, National Tequila Day. For you, it's, International Yoga Day.
Tequila Day makes sense as well, though.
Yeah, Tequila Day can make sense. But you could position yourself around different things that are already happening, also different industry events that are happening. And maybe it's somebody wants to share something within your organization that they had some sort of a success in. So there's so many different ways to brainstorm what is considered news, and that's how you're going to be able to get the kind of the stream of pitches, let's say, or articles, or things that are going out, whether it's you're doing outreach to the press or doing this type of outreach where you're interviewing experts to come on and share their thoughts and their expertise with your audience. And it comes in all different shapes and forms. And what I love about what you're doing, Megan, is you're doing something very consistent. You're taking advantage of the Facebook Live, the Facebook groups community platform that, it doesn't cost you anything, but it does cost you your investment of time and resources to keep it going. And it's, that's basically my same point with PR, is that it's going to cost you your time and resources and dedication to have that outreach going. Unlike advertising, where if you just want to invest in maybe a certain event that you want to get more exposure for, it's just completely different than PR. And just to remember that PR is 8 times more credible than any type of advertising.
Wow. Okay. That's really good to think about. So I love that. So that was a really great suggestion. So as you guys are arriving, welcome, welcome. So we're talking about PR being a long game is what I'm hearing, and also part of your business strategy. So I love that idea of each month. And, because some of us, at least for me, I was for a long time, was a little bit haphazard with my content. I was like, content calendar, I don't know what that is, and I like that idea of picking a theme, and that way you can kind of get with what's trending for that month, and you can maybe, find your way into those conversations. So that's a great suggestion to start with. So if you guys are on board with that, let us know if you're kind of want to find the theme of the month for your community, your brand, or whatever makes sense for your offering. Definitely drop that in the comments as a great suggestion. So if you're going to add that to your content calendar or just your strategy for the next few months. And so that was one mistake. And so what else do you see people doing?
Another one that I see, but let me just add one more thing
Sure.
to that mistake when it comes to advertising. So I do want to say that what will happen is that if you did take a poll of brands, small and large, and they said, you know, is PR important? They always say yes. And
Hmm.
then is advertising important? They always say yes. But then when you ask them what the PR budget is, they don't have one. But when you ask them what the advertising budget is, it's limitless.
Hmm.
So that's like, I just wanted to make that point with the mindset is that if you can have a budget for advertising, but you say PR is important, like understand that disconnect.
Right. And I wanted to highlight that one thing that you said there that I think is incredibly important and will really help us to sort of weigh out where the budget goes is that the credibility for a PR exposure, opportunity, connection, you know, who knows what can come from that is 8 times, did you say it was 8 times more powerful
It's
than an ad?
it's considered 8 times more credible.
Credible.
The great thing with PR also, when if you're relating it to advertising, is that once you get that social proof is what I'm going to call it. So that's, you
Yeah.
know, I was quoted in Forbes magazine. So now in my advertisement, I can say as seen in Forbes, you know, so that's
Right.
social proof. And when you can do that in social advertising, that increases your return on investment, your cost per acquisition, your cost per lead. It becomes less expensive when you can have that type of social proof. So it does also feed into your advertising if you are spending on advertising.
Right. And we know that the social proof is so important. And I definitely see that. And I saw that on your site too. And I was like, wow, that's so good. So definitely being featured is such an incredible, amazing celebration to have for you. So I love that. Thank you. Thank you. And congratulations. Okay. So let's go back
Yes.
to what we're
Yeah.
doing that might be stalling our progress.
Yeah. So another thing, and this is so, I think, so easy to fix or to take action on, and this is my favorite word is optimization. So optimization is going to get you more exposure, more earned media. It's going to get you, you know, reach more of your audience, more visibility. And when I'm talking about optimization, I'm just simply like, it could be as simple as this. So Megan, when you're doing your captions in Facebook, if you make sure that you include your name in your caption, or let's just say your brand name, if it was different than your name in your caption, or just in general keywords in your social media captions, because Facebook is a search engine just like Google, and people go and search in Facebook for brand names, for keywords, for whatever they're looking for. They're going to start their search in Facebook search engine. Same with Pinterest, same with LinkedIn. They all operate slightly differently, but they are all in essence search engines. So you want to make sure that your captions, your content on social, your hashtags, that you're as optimized as possible so that you're reaching organically the most audience possible. Because if you look at yourself, like your Facebook community, your Facebook page, those are like two separate publications, and your audience organically, let's just talk about Facebook. It used to be a lot easier to get exposure organically, but what little exposure you can get, you might as well just optimize and make sure you're using your brand keywords and your associated keywords within your captions or your content in general. So when you're writing a press release or an article for your website, making sure that, you know, there's a simple checklist that that you can go through that just make sure that your headline has a keyword, make sure your sub headline has, you have a focus keyword for each piece of content, and that focus keyword is used 3 to 4 or 5 times throughout the content if we're talking about, let's say, an article or a blog post.
Okay.
That way, if a journalist is researching, let's just say, you know, who does yoga at their desk, and they just go in Google and put in yoga at your desk or yoga at my desk, and maybe you're using both of those phrases, you know, you're going to come up as an expert for that keyword phrase. But if you're not focused on making sure that it's used, you know, not in a spammy way, in a very natural way throughout your content, then you know, if you don't do it, you're not going to get found. Somebody else will. And
Right.
100% of journalists who are surveyed, they either start their research on Google or they confirm their research on Google. So they'll finish writing their article and they'll say, okay, is there anybody that I forgot, or let me just make sure that like this all adds up and there's not anything already out there that like is obvious. So, that's, journalists will always research on Google. So making sure that you're there for them, as well as, your prospects that would be searching for you.
Well,
So
that's
it's a little
great
bit of
advice.
SEO. Yeah, it's,
Yep.
I would consider that like, bringing the SEO into the PR content. And you
Okay.
don't have to get super technical. You don't have to be a coder or anything like that. It's just really has to do with making sure if whoever's doing your writing is making sure that the writing, the captions, the content is optimized so that it's going to get picked up in search in LinkedIn. Instagram has its own kind of like, criteria for search, what's searchable and what's not. Emojis are searchable in Instagram. So,
Really?
yeah,
Wow. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Thank you for that reminder, because I know I definitely was intentional at one point, and I'm trying to be more intentional with definitely within my blogs, but it hadn't occurred to me to be intentional within captions on Facebook. So that is a really great tip. Thank you. Thank you. Because I think,
Yeah.
I do notice that, when you go on Google and maybe it'll pull up somebody's Facebook page or somebody's Facebook group, but that's just an important way to kind of keep it consistent and, like you said, enhance your searchability and your optimization. So thank you. That's a great one.
Definitely.
So maybe we have time for one more mistake that you see people doing.
Another
If
one that I see are visuals. So
Okay.
visuals are a critical part. You Megan, do a great job with your visuals. But what I see is that I'm not saying not to use stock photography, but we have so much access to being our own, personal photographers, or investing in high quality images, whether you're hiring, just it could be a college student photographer. It doesn't have to be like this whole big photo shoot, but having a large variety of action shots and product shots that are natural, user generated content is awesome. But what the media really loves and gravitates to, and so does Google, is when you include with any type of, especially I'll just use the example of a press release. So, I would say the majority of brands, when they write a press release and let's say they do paid distribution, they don't even bother including a photo, but sometimes they'll include like a logo and they think that's great for the photo, or they'll include, a headshot of the CEO, which that's not terrible. It's better than nothing. But if you
Right.
invest in, some really interesting, impactful visuals and put 2 or 3 of them with, whether you're sending it out to the media or you're distributing it on Google, and include even a video, like, the difference between a press release with no visuals versus a press release with visuals. And there's studies done on this. So the one with visuals get, 5 times more reach, more visibility on Google, more click-throughs, and then include a video with it, then it increases it, exponentially even more. So the more multimedia, the more impactful visuals, and staying away from the stock photography that could be, used on any brand, and making it as interesting as possible. That's going to work for, whether you're going direct to audience or whether you're trying to get a journalist to do a story on you. They want their job to be easier, first of all,
Right.
because
We all
everybody's
do.
everybody is, basically working, on their, now the journalists, they're their own creative director. They have to find their own artwork, they have to shoot their own stories. Like everything is like do it yourself. So when you can provide a journalist with like a good story plus great visuals, that's going to make them stand out. That's huge. And so optimizing your visuals for the channels is also very important to make sure that you're, not cutting off pictures and things like that. I mean, if you just think about, that's great PR, but it's bad PR if like your website is down, or if like your image is just like completely cut off. And
Right. Or it's
it's,
fuzzy.
yeah. So just making sure that your visuals are clean and impactful, and avoiding stock photography, and freshening them up every month. So,
Okay.
maybe it's like your assistant, you have somebody, whether it's your husband, your friend, somebody go with you to the beach, and follow you around and just get like 5 great shots for the month. Do the same. same thing, whatever the brand is, take 5 great shots a month and use those as your content and your pitches and part of your campaign.
Okay, that's good to know. And so would you say, is it really good or overkill if you were to do a PR release or a blog post or something that had both a video and a static shot?
Oh, no, definitely. If you can do both. Yeah.
Okay. And so with
Both
the
would be ideal.
video, would you have it be, for example, say somebody was a life coach and they were wanting to talk about like a new program or something, and it was specific to their region or specific to an industry. If they were going to pitch somebody, would it be great for them to have like a 1-minute blurb of them talking about it or some of the benefits, et cetera, and then a static? Or what would you suggest be in the video?
I mean, it really depends on what the news angle is. So one thing that you could think about doing is that you could create like a reel, and it could be like different clips from different, if you've done multiple like interviews, or you have examples of you or a coach talking in, different settings, then you could have like a little like vignette of all of them. But I don't think there's any right or wrong way to do it. I think the whole idea is you want it to be able to tell the story of whatever the news story is. Like, so it's like typically a press release will have a quote from somebody important, somebody, that is authoritative with that company. So just turn the quote into like a live, a person actually talking. Right. And so it puts like a human behind it. And it also gives the media, for example, an idea of, okay, can this person handle being on camera? What is he or she like? Or to the audience, it's, this brand is actually, I know who this, I know who this brand is now, and now I have more trust in this brand. So for each one of your personas, and I always like to say to consider the media, the journalist, as one of your personas that you're trying to speak to and convince, but then your other personas are, whoever your prospects, and then you want to retain your current customers. So that trust is such an important word right now for brands, because, without trust, like that's the whole deal now. Like your audience, the media, they're basically, they're in control of who your brand is. And so it's all about building trust. And that is one thing that public relations can definitely help, is to build trust and credibility.
Cool. Thank you. That's super helpful. That's really helpful. Anybody that's here, if you have any questions or anything for Lisa about any of the mistakes, and if you've been making some of those, it's all good, because now you know what to do. And I think really what I want to take away from that, and what reiterate from the beginning, in case there's some people that didn't catch that, but that it's such a powerful strategy, and it's as important, and what I'm hearing is perhaps even more important than advertising, because really that's giving you that credibility, social proof, word of mouth, referrals, all of those opportunities. And so making it part of your strategy and figuring out some ways. And so I know that you have an awesome resource for people, because I definitely want to dive into this more myself. And I know people that are here are probably going to want to too, after they've heard what you said. So do you want to share a little bit about your gift that you have to share with us today?
Yes. It's actually the PDF version of my book, Social PR Secrets, which this is the 3rd edition, but what I'm giving you guys is the 4th edition.
Okay.
And, I was a very early adapter of taking PR down this new path. And so what ended up happening was, it was an education process for my team, an education process for my clients. And I did a lot of speaking about it. And I was like, okay, I'm saying it so many times, I'm just going to write a book. Right. And then I ended up using my book for, I taught a class at University of Florida for 4 years on how to integrate social media with PR. So I used my book as part of that. And that's why I kept having to update it, because when you're teaching college students, you want to make sure, or anybody, you want to make sure it's completely up to date. So anyway, that's my gift to everybody. Guy Kawasaki he wrote the foreword to it, which I was very humbled and honored for that. So I have his endorsement.
There you go. That's huge.
Yeah. what I love about the book and what I hear from a lot of people that have the book is that you can really just dive into any chapter, and every chapter is very actionable. So you could maybe just say, okay, I need help on Twitter, and there's a chapter on Twitter PR secrets, and you can just read that chapter and, you know, skip Snapchat if Snapchat isn't for you. But I mean, it really, the basis of it is just how to optimize and publicize your brand, how to optimize, publicize, and socialize your brand and get the most exposure possible without having to really dip your toe into advertising.
I love it. Wow, that's a beautiful offering. Thank you so much. And I love that you've really chunked it down. And because I know I'm not using Twitter or Snapchat, so I'm like,
It's okay. It's
probably
okay.
at some point, maybe.
Yeah, no, if Facebook is your jam and that's where your audience is, that's totally fine. You know, not everybody's audience is on Facebook. Some are only on TikTok, some are mostly on Snapchat. So it's totally fine. Like, that's really one of the biggest mistakes that I see brands making when I go in and do an audit, is that they have their resources, time and financials divided equally among every channel. And you just, I like to say, you know, wherever your audience is, it's 80% of your resources. So you should be Facebook, and then the other 20%, maybe Instagram, you know, LinkedIn, and then don't worry about the ones that, you know, your audience might not be on. And if you want to test it out, what you could do is hire influencers that already have an audience on Snapchat to like talk about you. And, you know, you don't have to worry about managing a channel on Snapchat, for example, or TikTok.
Oh, that's a good suggestion. Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. So I put the link to grab the special gift from Lisa in the comments below, and I will add that into the description after I optimize it. I'm all about learning and taking action, even if it's messy.
Yeah, and don't forget the hashtags, even in Facebook, a couple hashtags, people are,
okay.
Definitely.
Because thank you. That's a good point. So I know that Instagram was really hot with hashtags, and then I was seeing people using it. And then I did see something a little while back that actually it's becoming a searchable tool on Facebook. So are you suggesting to include hashtags in your Facebook descriptions or in the comments? Does it matter?
I would definitely include it in your comments. I mean, I'm sorry, in your captions.
Okay.
I don't know if they're searchable in the comments. We have to test that out, but any field on your Facebook page or your Facebook group, any field that Facebook gives you to fill out. So like the about on your Facebook page or the about on your Facebook group, or any caption is searchable. So,
okay, that's some gold
so
right
making
there.
sure that those keywords are in the about section. It's like, you know, I'll see brands and their description on their Facebook page or Facebook group just being like super general with their description, like, you know, we get it, we know you, we love you. Okay, that's awesome messaging, but there's no keyword in there, so somebody isn't going to find you without, you know, Megan Nolan, you know, loves you and is ready for you to, you know what I mean? Like, you need to like really make sure that those keywords are in there.
Oh, good. Thank you. Yeah, Brandy says thank you. I thought they were only for IG. Okay, cool. So we all have some homework.
Yeah. Even LinkedIn is very, like, hashtags on LinkedIn, just 2 to 3 of the main ones. You don't have to go crazy like on Instagram. You can have up to 30 hashtags. With LinkedIn, 2 to 3, with Twitter, 2 to 3, with Facebook, maybe 1 to 2, but make sure that they're, you know, test them out, you know, search the hashtag that you're gonna use and see when's the last time somebody used it, how popular it is, what other brands are using it.
Okay, that's a great idea. And so if you want to search a hashtag, can you just go back to the home screen of Facebook, and in the search bar, you'd say like hashtag PR secrets?
Yeah.
And then,
Yep.
Good to know. Thank you. Well, that's an awesome golden extra nugget at the end. Thank you.
Yes,
so as we wrap up, is there anything else that you wanted to add that you felt like maybe would be a good tool to leave people with, or anything you wanted to kind of share?
One thing that I really just like to encourage everybody, and this is how I expanded my horizons when I was in just traditional PR, is that just always go out of your box. And so public relations has really changed so much over the past 10 years, 5 years, 1 year even. Stay a little bit ahead. And because if you can be a little bit ahead and be a early adapter of something, you'll get the most out of that. So one thing I just want everybody to look at is augmented reality, virtual reality, the metaverse. I'm sure you've heard like the buzzword now, but making sure that you're aware of these virtual worlds and virtual experiences that consumers and your audience might be ready for, and you don't want to be playing catch up. So I would just encourage everybody to maybe invest in an Oculus 2 headset and experiment. And maybe it's doing yoga, in VR, or maybe it's attending some business meetups in VR on, just really kind of like push the envelope a little bit, because you'll get ideas and you'll be ahead of the curve.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I have some friends here actually that are doing the virtual reality headset situation. So maybe I should touch base with them again. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think that's important for it to be challenging ourselves, right? And kind of pushing the edges, and really expanding our horizons, if you will. And so that's a beautiful suggestion. So thank you so much. This has been amazing. And I hope you guys found it really helpful too. So let us know in the comments what you are committed to taking action on today, because it's all well and good for you to learn something, but really it's about, sorry, I don't mean to be waggling my finger at you. That's my stern Capricorn side coming out. So it's all well and good to learn things, but it's really important to try to implement them as soon as you can, right? And so Lisa gave some really great suggestions: optimizing your caption, optimizing your about in your group and on your page, and really reaching out and making this a priority in your business strategy. And so thank you so much, Lisa. And yes, you're so welcome. So definitely grab the resource, because I've taken a peek into some of Lisa's work and she is incredible and clearly knows her stuff. So grab the book, because it's going to be one of those Bible books for, business strategy, PR strategy, optimizing your everythings. And so definitely grab that amazing free resource, which is so generous. So Brandy says, thank you. Yay, good. So Brandy, what are you committed to taking action on? Let us know in the comments. And then for those of you watching later in the replay or here now, if you have any questions or anything, please feel free to drop them below. Lisa is part of our community and she's happy to answer and, guide you in that direction and wherever you need some inspiration or what have you. So thank you so much, Lisa. And thank you all for being part of this incredible community of elevated and empowered entrepreneurs, and continue to learn, grow, implement what you learned today. And hopefully it's really going to help you optimize your impact and, really grow your business. So have a great Friday, everybody. Take good care and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you.